Thanks so much for joining me.
No, thank you. It was a pleasure to be here.
So I want to jump right in and first of all, just ask you, to the extent that you can, give our listeners kind of an overview of the five families, and then maybe just a quick kind of history of the mob in Philly.
Sure. I mean, it's just interesting because I think the mob, the mafia, Cosa Nostra, is a lesser player than it was, say, 20 years ago. I mean, the five families in New York, the Colombo, Gambino, Genovese, Lucchese, and Bonanno families are still major players in New York City, but they aren't the monolithic organizations that they were 20, maybe 30 years ago. And I think part of the reason for that is law enforcement has very effectively attacked traditional organized crime with the RICO laws, with electronic surveillance, with WITSEC and cooperating witnesses. It's really kind of come apart. And you know, I say this when I talk to different people. If I were a reporter starting out right now, I don't think I would carve out a beat covering Cosa Nostra. I think the news story is the drug underworld or terrorism. And, you know, that's where it is right now. But that being said, the five families in New York, I think overall there's probably 26 families around the country. Five families in New York have always been the dominant families. If you will, that's the major leagues. Philadelphia has been kind of AAA. I mean, Philadelphia has always been associated with New York. Philadelphia, its status was enhanced in the 1970s with the coming of casino gambling to Atlantic City, because Atlantic City was always part of the Philadelphia organization, and all of a sudden Atlantic City was something of value. So that kind of enhanced the Philadelphia crime family's position, but it also generated a lot of violence and led to, I would argue, the demise of the Philadelphia crime family. And that's where we are today. The Philadelphia crime family probably is a shadow of what it was even 20 years ago. They're probably 20, 25 members right now. They're not major players. In its heyday, there might have been 70 or 80 made members. And it's just come undone. And I benefited from the fact that I was able to cover it at a time when this was all happening. And I was working at a newspaper, The Inquirer, that at that particular time had a lot of resources. And basically, they just gave me my head. Go do what you got to do, find the stories. And it was just serendipitous. It came at a very good time, and I was able to carve out a beat and write about a fascinating period of history in organized crime, and using Philadelphia as the hook. And I think what happened in Philadelphia in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, the demise of that organization, was pretty much indicative of what was happening to crime families all over the country.